Hey everybody, I'm going to give y'all a few minutes to log on. I'm a little early, just a few minutes. We've got some weather, and I was listening to some thunder, and I was thinking, oh, it's thunder. What are we going to do? But I think we'll be okay. We are visiting my parents this weekend for Father's Day, and so I'm just taking a little bit of time. I decided that this week we're going to do some like really homeschool law wrap up. I had a couple of really great questions, and I didn't want to not answer them, and it just seemed like I had several that could kind of make me talk a little bit longer than usual. So we're going to do that, and then next week we'll go over teaching styles and a couple other things. So we're going to go to the first one. Somebody asked, what exactly are Alabama homeschool laws and how do I know I'm in compliance with everything I need to file and track? I kind of went over that last week, and so this question really kind of makes me feel like, well, maybe I went too fast and maybe I was not understandable. Alabama is one state I can talk very confidently on because that's where I live. If you were to ask me the same question about Mississippi or Florida or Georgia or New York or California, I would probably heavily rely on homeschool legal defense. I always send people to homeschool legal defense because they have a very good, solid summary. You don't have to be a member to read the summary. They have more in detailed information if you are a member, and you can also call them and ask about specific laws, which is absolutely fabulous to be able to call and ask. I mean, for many years in Alabama, I run a church school, and for many years, I've called and asked church school questions, even though that's not their wheelhouse. They don't normally give legal. Well, they definitely don't give legal help to church schools or umbrella schools or cover schools, whatever you want to call them. But they will give you, as a member, they will give you advice and tell you what the law says. There are people who argue and say homeschool legal defense is not for the homeschooler, especially in Alabama. There's a lot of argument over this. You can read the summary for free. You can go to it's last week's video. It's another website that you can actually go up and pull up the codes and read the codes for yourself. How do you know you're in compliance? Well, my first advice is, unless someone is a veteran, and I mean veteran homeschooler, I would not ask their advice. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but there is a lot of misinformation in Alabama. Number two, even if they're veterans, if they are telling you that you don't have to do anything, they have misread the law. And I'm sure someone will take this clip and send it to somebody. I don't care. Come at me. There, to be in compliance, there is something you have to do. Do you have to do a church school? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I help parents do private school at home, but that's what I call it, to do the private school option. I help parents every week. I'm like, for free. I don't care what law in Alabama you use. There is a law and there is paperwork. Now, there isn't really anything else you send after you send that the enrollment form for church school. You are going to send it once unless you're updating it. If you're doing private, you're going to send it every year. If you do the private tutor, you're going to do every year. That's just how it is. Church schools are a loophole law where church schools were established. It wasn't a strong law, so they were able to do a loophole so that homes could they became classrooms, and then homeschooling was born here. The private school at home was written for private schools, and it wasn't written tight enough, so it became a loophole. It's basically a loophole law. So if you're doing the private school at home, you kind of have to follow the same rules that the private school does. That's why they say you need to have your vaccination or exempt card on file. That's why they say you have to do the not private, sorry, PE. That's why the PE is on file. That's why let's see what else, attendance. Attendance. There's just a couple of things you've got to have on file. Do you turn it in anywhere? No, but you need to have it on file. That's good record keeping. So church schools, they set up their own rules. So whatever, if you're in a church school, whatever rule they set, that's what you have to do. You have to do that. That's how it is. If they want your grades and to approve your curriculum and to have your PE record, that's what you do if you're in that school. There are many, many, many church schools, and they're all different. Compass Point, we're a little bit more lenient. I try to stick close to what the law requires. So church school once, private school at home, which is what a lot of people do. That's every year. And private tutor is going to be every year. So I thought that was a good question. If you still have questions, you can PM me. The ones of y'all are, post behind here. It's fine. Somebody else asked, what does it mean to raise good citizens? And is it something I need to document or prove somehow? In Alabama, no. Other states, maybe. It may be a subject that's another state. So every state controls their law themselves. So Mississippi has their own law, Florida, Alabama. Every state sets their own educational laws. It's not controlled nationally, at least not yet. Do we need, so you just check what your state requires. In Alabama, we don't have subject requirements. But it's not a bad idea. I think for being a good citizen, you would probably like do community service. A lot of it's modeling, I guess is what you would call it. It's you living the life as a good citizen or what you consider a good citizen, and then them copying. A lot of behavior and a lot of things in life are taught by example. Do you need to document it? I think it's probably, at least for high school, it's a pretty good idea to document it as community service, because sometimes there are scholarships that are out there that can be, that community service can help with. It definitely gives them something to think about outside of our world, because that's really what being a good citizen is looking outside of ourselves and looking at the world around us. So anyway, let me go find another one. If I miss a deadline or forget to file something, could I be in trouble? What are the actual consequences for being out of compliance? That depends on who you're filing. That initial paperwork, you could become truant. If you're dealing with a church school, your administrator may or may not give you grace period for turning in whatever they want you to turn in. So look at it. So government wise, it kind of depends. In Alabama, we have a lot of people say that, say, hey, I haven't done anything and they've not done anything to me. That doesn't always happen that way. So if for some reason you have not filed your stuff, file it now. Now, I usually say don't backdate it. Don't go line, because they know if they look at your kids' records, they know if you filed or not. And then I'll have people who will say, well, they've never been in this school system. That doesn't matter. Follow the law. Following the law is just, you can go down the road and speed, but if you have a wreck, then you're going to hurt somebody. It's just being a good human. So if you have, let's say you've never enrolled them anywhere, yes, you still need to enroll them. If you missed a deadline, let's say you didn't know and you're like, it's been 2 months and you never filed with your superintendent and said that you were homeschooling, go ahead and file. Don't backdate it. Don't go around fudging, but just do it. Usually once you file it, usually it I know there's been court cases where people were considered truant. They filed the form then, and then it moved on. So I'm like, just do it. Don't worry too much over it. If you're doing private school at home and you don't have stuff on file, I mean, honestly, the only time I've really seen paperwork go is when if you went to court. Um, I can't make those judgments for you, but I'm like, this is one of those things about being a good human and teaching your kids to be good humans. Just do the paperwork. It's it's super painless. I'm like, they don't. I mean, I think probably getting the anti-vax paperwork is the most painful thing you would probably do if you are. Some people are, some people aren't. Um, because they make you watch a video, and I hate being made to watch anything. But I hate watching video. I really don't like being made to do anything. I'm really kind of a rebel that way. So I'm like, so I wouldn't worry too much, but I would file. Let's see. Somebody asked, is it necessary to join something like Homeschool Legal Defense? When would I actually need legal support? Well, I'll be honest. With Compass Point, I'm like, because I'll use it as an example. I don't require that my families join, but I do give a discount code. I am a member. It's been valuable to me. Have I ever been in trouble and needed legal help? No, but they have so many other resources. I'm like, if you have special needs, they have like a special needs counselors. If you're going into the military, they have military counselors. I mean, they have all these people to help you do the different walks in life. So on an average everyday life, you might not need it. But take a look at the website and see what they have. You may find something that you say, hey, I'm going to need that. They also do transcripts. Now, y'all know I love Solution Point Learning, but Homeschool Legal Defense they're good at what they do. So I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, it's just like a personal issue. If you have had any issues with the school system or a family member, you might want Homeschool Legal Defense just to have that extra. They actually can, they can come in, they usually will come in and advise your lawyer, but I also know that they can come operate in Alabama, or at least they have been in the past. Have there been any recent changes to Alabama homeschool law and that I need to know about, or ones coming up? No. The last time we had a change was 2014. We have not had any new changes since then. I have not seen any major changes. We did have the Alabama Choose Act come out last year. That's not really a homeschool law. It is kind of like a voucher. I don't know what to call it, where public, private, and homeschool can get some money from the education system. Not that well, wherever they get money. I don't watch that stuff pretty well. I need to look at y'all instead of looking at my phone. Sorry, guys. Let's see. But I do not, well, they are working on one that we may be able to, they're wanting to push it through so that we can do AP exams at the high schools. That's something that has been very, very hard to do. So I know that's the only one. Nothing major. I've not heard or seen anything major. And we watch pretty closely. What kind of records should I be keeping day to day or year to year? Is there a checklist or a sample binder I can follow? Yes, I have several videos. I call it the Homeschool Binder. Sometimes I call it my brain, where I give suggestions on what you need for record keeping. I didn't know that was on there. What I suggest for record keeping. You can go find those. I will link that after this video is over. I will link that to this video so that you can find it. In fact, I'm looking at the time now so I can remember. I'll try to maybe pop up. Sometimes you can pop up like a little window so that you can find it. But I'll make sure you can find it so that you can see what I suggest. I suggest quite a lot because during COVID we had several moms and dads die, and I just saw the fallout of what happens when people can't find records. So I think it's very, very important. Do I need to give my child tests every year? If not, how do I show they're making progress if someone ever asks? So by test, I'm assuming you mean maybe standardized test. In Alabama, it's not required, but I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I like it for practice for like ACT if you're going to end up needing that. I would not do it when they're younger. I'm not really a huge fan of tests. I would pick assessment test over standardized testing. Although I think once high school, you could do some standardized just so they have practice if you're going to do the ACT. Many colleges have gone ACT optional where you don't absolutely have to have it, but they are, again, used sometimes for scholarships. Um, so it's not a bad thing, but I wouldn't make it take over your life. Let's Go Learn has assessment tests. I like those. I'm actually going to do some training so that I can help people a little bit better about interpreting those. But that's one I have sent people to several times. You can do standardized tests at home now. You can get them online. If you let me know, I'll try to link. I'll put a link down in the bottom. I'll try to remember that. Um, and then you can do the ACT. ACT is you sign up on the ACT org website and then go into the high school. Um, they're not unuseful. You're not legally required to do it, but it's not a bad thing. Now, the second part of that question, how do you know they're progressing? Well, if you're paying attention, you're going to know without the test. For littles, I always suggest that you keep examples of the work, beginning, middle, end of the year, so that you can see the progression. Any test the curriculum has, you'll get that in the brain, the homeschool binder workshop, because I talk about keeping those. And that's what I do with my littles. With my big ones, I usually keep all the tests. Once they graduate, there's not really a reason to keep them. After they're enrolled in a college, there's no reason to have proof. So at that time, you can scrap them. But right now, it's good to have a good list. Let's see, y'all. This has been a very eventful week. This is a good one. If I move to another state, will my homeschool setup still be legal? And would I need to change something? Yes, like I said earlier, homeschool law is controlled by the state that you're in. If you move to Florida, there are new laws, or New York, or California, or wherever. Or if you move from somewhere to Alabama, there are new laws. And if you like in Alabama, if you have a cover school leader, they're going to help you navigate that. Or you can just send me a note and I'll tell you what to do. Sometimes, if I'm not grouchy. Sometimes I'm grouchy. It happens. But yes, there will always be something to update when you move to a new state or a new country. I'm like, some countries it's illegal and you're not quite supposed to do that. Um, do I need to follow the state curriculum or can I choose something that fits my family? Alabama, definitely. You can do any curriculum you want. Um, I do suggest with my families that they follow the high school graduation requirements. You don't not super close. You don't have to be like majorly close, but to keep an eye on it so that your child's transcript is not flagged when you go to college or trade school or wherever they plan to go, because that is a thing. You don't want the transcript to look weird, so you want it to be named similar to what the state has, and you don't want it to um, flag, but something may be weird with it. What should I do if someone from the school district or DHR contacts me about homeschooling? Do I have rights in the situation? This is one of those times where you're going to want homeschool legal defense. If you, for any reason, you think there could be an issue, and that's usually if you divorce, they will not represent you with divorce, but they will advise your lawyer about homeschool law. Or if they're a family member, usually I've seen it's a family member who's decided you're neglecting your children. Number one, make sure you're not neglecting your children. Educational neglect is a thing. You do need to be teaching. Unschooling is not lack of teaching, guys. It's not lack of teaching. It is not sitting on your butt doing nothing. It is the hardest homeschool teaching style there is. It takes brains and work. It is not unplanned, not doing anything. That I'm like, I've had this issue before. You can tell that, right? So you have rights. If they come to your door, you don't have to allow them in. But this is the point where, and homeschool legal defense, it's very hard to sign up after the fact. So if you, I'm like, that's just one of those things. How do I handle it if my child wants to return to public school later? How do I make sure their records are acceptable? Guys, this is one of my pet peeves. I do not believe children have the experience to make this decision. Can you let them have a say in what's going on? Yeah. But ultimately, you're the parent. So make sure that their desires are aligning with yours because you're the one with experience. Um, Records with this. If you're before high school, there's not going to be really any trouble. I would keep lesson plans, tests. I would have a grade report before high school. After high school, it ebbs and flows in our area. Sometimes it's troublesome, sometimes it's not. Um, I suggest that if you're going to homeschool for high school, make the decision you're going all the way through. We have so many opportunities now. You don't have to chase after the opportunities. Find out what your child wants first. I mean, really, if they're asking to go back to public school, ask them first, well, what do you want? What is it you feel like you're missing? And see if it is available in our area. A lot of times this happens because you're not asking the questions. In our area in Alabama, you can play high school sports. You can do our junior ROTC. I always worry if I make that right. I've heard some rumors that some of the schools are letting people do band. That is not. There's no the sports is like a bylaw change. It's not a law. There's no 10T though law in Alabama. So, but there are so many options. Look first to see if there's a way you can meet the need before you make that decision. If homeschooling is what you want to do, but ultimately, y'all, I mean, I would try to work together first. Then, if it just doesn't work together, do what you need to do. They are probably going to test back in. High school is going to be a little bit dicier. They may have them test for every subject. That means having good records, having good curriculum is important. I definitely don't go in there and say I didn't do anything. That would not be good. Don't do that. But I mean, it goes one, but it just goes, it just depends. Let me see. I mean, I had about 15 questions here, guys. Have any other homeschoolers been questioned or challenged by school officials, and how do they handle it? Again, usually there's something else involved if they're being questioned. You'll get probably the most pushback will be at the school. Like when you're withdrawing, you're going to get the most, and you may get dicey information. So I would definitely go to Homeschool Legal Defense and see what they suggest for doing everything, because I've heard them. They say, well, I've had school assistants. They say don't have to do anything, and then there's some that say you have to do this form, this form. Homeschool Legal Defense has a form on their website, or you can talk to a veteran who has made it their job to know what's going on. So definitely you need to withdraw. If you're in public school, you definitely have to withdraw. So that's usually about the time I ever see any kind of pushback. If it's a pushback on a higher level, like truancy, it's usually paperwork has not been filed correctly, or there's been something missed somewhere, or if it's or if it's DHR, there's going to be another family member involved. It's not usually the school system. That's very rare, unless there's like something like if you were accused of being abusive and you pulled your children out and tried to homeschool, then there may be other issues. But usually if I see DHR or a school official involved, there's usually something else going on besides just homeschooling. I don't normally see that, at least not in a long time. Let's see. Is there a group or co-op I can join locally to help stay informed and supported through the year? Many groups locally. I'm in Alabama. In my area, there's a lot of great Facebook groups. I do always say, take everything you hear with a grain of salt. If an admin says it, is probably definitely correct. If it is somebody you don't know that's just a mom, they may or may not be correct. And I'm not trying to diss the moms, only just sometimes people get helpful and they don't always know. So make sure several people are saying the same thing. Again, there's that Alabama group that likes to tell everybody they don't have to do anything, and that's not true. And it's not that I want your business. I don't. I have all the business I need. Well, not really. Whoever does. But still, just take everything. Do your research yourself. Do your research yourself. Do your research yourself. Don't rely on everyone else to tell you what to do, or even as lovely as it is, ChatGPT. Do the research. Go several places. There's wisdom in getting information in several places. There's wisdom there. So that's what is. Oh, co-ops. I'm looking at the note. In South Alabama, South Alabama homeschooling is the Facebook group I'm in. Huge group, about 7,000. There are many co-ops in our area. There are co-ops in Mississippi. There's many in Florida. Local groups will usually have a good tab on that, finding that information. Compass Point, we do. I don't run that anymore. My husband does because I'm going back to school. I don't know why. Why would a homeschool mom go back to school? I don't know. What's the best way to make sure I'm legally compliant all year? Is there a calendar or planner for this? There are many calendars and planners out there. Many great calendars and planners. Is there one for Alabama for just telling you when to do something? No, but that's not a bad idea, and I'm probably going to suggest that to Erin to put on her website, SouthAlabamaHomeschooling.com. I think that's a brilliant idea, especially for our private school at home moms who need to have things in about a certain time. Church school, again, you only file it once unless you need to update it, and usually your administrator's mailing that in. At least I do on my end. Other ones may not. I mail it because I had parents, in the beginning I had many parents forget, and then they were truant, and I'm running around trying to fix problems. So I found it's just easier. I'll mail it. I mail it all at once, so I do it on Monday. So, easy peasy. I think that was the last. Oh no, one more. Are there resources or trainings you recommend for parents like me who want to feel confident and not overwhelmed by all the stuff? I have tons and tons of videos, lots of workshops, interviews, boot camps. I have this boot camp I have ran 4 or 5, probably about 3 or 4 times, maybe 3 times. I'm rerunning it this year, trying to do it a little bit more conversation instead of teaching. If you want workshop style, I have 3, I think. I have one called Quick Start. That's like streamlined. And then I have other ones with tons and tons of subjects and extra videos and all that. And you can find them on YouTube, on this channel. Lots and lots of information. Because my husband has taken over co-op, I am going to begin to do more workshops. Co-op took a lot of my time. Love co-op. I love them. But there are other things that I have to be able to do the whole group and not just the co-op. Co-op is only one small facet of Compass Point. I like other ones. There's lots of great books out there. I am going to be having guides coming out. I'm hoping in July that I'll have the high school one. Don't quote me on that. It keeps growing on me. So I'm working on a homeschooling for high school guidebook. I have one for Compass Point members. Will have one for free. But then I'm going to take out the Compass Point information and just have a general one for anybody. And then that will be on Amazon. I don't have a price for that because I'm like halfway through. I'm hoping that's going to be done by the end of June. It might be backed up into July. So I'm hoping sometime in July that will be ready. Then after that, I have the next one is deschooling, because that is one I'm very passionate about. A lot of times people will confuse deschooling, unschooling, and I want to do a little bit of teaching on that and make it easy. I'm just really making easy to find, easy to afford guidebooks. Nothing huge or overwhelming, just something that you can just get and just have what you need. Um, I think that is all of my questions. This has gone way, way longer than I thought it would. I love this setup. I wish I could video here all the time. I can't though. But anyway, I will put those links to those videos in the description box. I will put Solution Point in there in case you look for that. Was there something else? Maybe y'all can remind me in a minute. The Justia, I think it's called Justia. I always forget what it's called. I'll put that link back in there and Homeschool Legal Defense back in there. If you think of something, next week we will definitely do teaching styles and talk about the curriculums inside those teaching styles and how to kind of figure out how those teaching styles apply. Because it's not just, not just your kids' learning style, there's a teaching style, and you have to work them together. Teaching styles, learning styles, you have it all works together. So we will work on that next Friday at 6, and hopefully y'all will have some more questions. But we'll try to steer away from law. Law is not my favorite. I like other stuff better. Um, at some point, we'll do deschooling too. We'll do a short thing, but we'll do a short thing. Maybe next week during the teaching styles and the learning styles, we'll add deschooling in there too, just so you can see that there's a definition for that. That's it. I enjoyed y'all. I know I was watching y'all watch. Some of y'all popped on and popped off and popped in, and wish y'all would have asked questions. It just makes it so much easier if you do. So hopefully y'all get a little bit chattier. But I know you're watching. But let me know what questions you have. But we'll try to. I think I've covered about everything I can think of on law, and I answered. I mean, if I had not had so many questions, we wouldn't have done that tonight. But I seem to have it. I feel like, well, maybe I was a little bit crazy last week. But anyway, so enjoy your Father's Day weekend. If you don't have a father, I'm giving you lots of hugs tonight because that can be a hard thing. But enjoy your people, love on your people. Um, Let me know how we can help and how we can support you. You're important. I'm telling you, the success of your homeschooling is because of the mama and the papa. And y'all let me know how I can help and how I can support you because you're so important. Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.